Now check out that for a sunrise. I just started. Look how gorgeous that is. Beautiful. Joys of riding early, I guess. My thought is like, if you're the type of person that always is riding multiple hours in the saddle, you do lots of century rides, things like that, like the Diverge would be a perfect bike, and I think you find it very comfortable on most of your road body. Now, on the flip side, if you're just like a morning rider, you go for an hour before work, or you just like to do hills or canyons or things like that, I feel like you'd be misplaced or not have enough bike if you were to use the Diverge as your dedicated road bike. So it's really going to depend on the terrain and where you're riding and kind of how you're going to use the bike. So thinking about the Diverge, if it could double as a road bike or even as just a dedicated road bike, my answer would be absolutely yes. I think this would be a great road bike. It will come with some very specific trade-offs. And I think the biggest of those trade-offs would be you have to recognize that you're going to trade your nimbleness and your agility of kind of your modern road bikes for a very stable, a very comfortable, a very smooth gravel bike. This would be a great choice if you primarily do like really long fondo races, really long days in the saddle where you're spending multiple hours on the bike and you want that comfortable experience. If you're just thinking of like a daily rider where I want to go do my morning climb, my hour morning ride, I wouldn't necessarily think of the Diverge as that kind of bike. But if you exclusively or primarily focus on doing really long rides on the road and you want a bike that's comfortable and stable, I think the Diverge would be a great choice for that. In thinking about it, in reality, the Diverge and the Roubaix are actually very similar bikes. I think the Roubaix is going to be the more focused road version and the Diverge is going to be the gravel version. But in reality, they both carry the Future Shock. On the Diverge, you're going to get clearance for much bigger tires, a more slacker head tube angle, just more of that kind of gravel geometry. But the Diverge you can use on the road as well, just like the Roubaix. So I think there's a lot of crossover to those two bikes. Thinking about the Future Shock on the Diverge, if I were to use this as a road bike, I would want one of the Future Shocks on the higher end. So either a 2.0 or higher, the ones that specifically have the dial where you can change on the fly. The Future Shock 1.5 has that internal spring that you have to change out manually and take the whole bike apart. If I were to use this as a road bike, I would want to change that as I was riding or be able to change it on the fly. Just because on road bikes, the terrain and the type of asphalt you're riding can vary very quickly. So you can be riding a very smooth section of asphalt and then run into some construction where you're going to have, very rough asphalt and want to be able to change that on the fly. So if I were to use the Diverge as a road bike, I would want one of the higher end Future Shocks. That way I could change it as I was going, change that compression rate and just make it, smoother or stiffer depending on what type of asphalt I was riding. Additionally, the Diverge on kind of your standard builds, most of those wheel sets are going to support down to a 36 mil tire. If I was only going to use this on the road, I would immediately just switch the tires and put a 36 on. It's going to be wider than most of your road bike tires, but at the same time, it is going to be a smoother experience. And, you're going to be able to run tubeless, you're going to be able to run lower air pressure, all the benefits that come from running a wider tire. Obviously, it's not going to be as efficient as those smaller tires, but I think the trade-offs are worth it. And again, you're riding a gravel bike on the road, so absolute speed and going as quick as possible shouldn't really be the focus. If you do plan on riding the Diverge primarily as a road bike, but occasionally will go into the gravel, I personally love the 38s. I have a set of 38 Pathfinders on my Specialized Crux right now. I find those strike a good balance between efficiency on the road, but still wide enough to get away with some dirt riding. And I say just get away with. Obviously, if you're going to do a lot of dirt riding, I would go up to, 42, 45, even a wider tire. But to get away with, hey, I want to ride in the gravel, but mostly on the road, I think a 38 is a really good tire. I love the Specialized Pathfinders. They have lasted forever for me. They work on a variety of terrains. They are great tires and really love them. The other thing to keep in mind on the Diverge is it is going to be naturally a heavier bike
compared to your standard road bikes or even some of your like high performance gravel bikes?
So this is my super unofficial weighing of these two bikes. So this is the Crux and my luggage scale. So the Crux is 18.5, and the Diverge okay, so the Diverge is 20.
So my Diverge build that I am riding is about 20 pounds when compared to my Specialized Crux. My Specialized Crux is just under 18 pounds. So you're thinking of like a 2-pound difference between those bikes. Obviously, that's the trade-off again. You're getting a beefier frame, you're getting more gravel focus, so you are going to trade that off. If you're doing a lot of hill climbing, that 2 pounds can make a difference. Related to kind of the weight as well, I would focus on getting a lighter wheel set. As light as possible, whether that's the stock wheels that it comes with, those Roval carbon wheels I think are great, or if you wanted to upgrade further, that's going to make a big difference in kind of adding back in some of that agility and nimbleness of the bike as well. Last thing related to kind of the drivetrain of the bike, I would lean towards getting a 2x if you were going to ride this as a road bike. I think you could get away with a 1x. I get away with it on my Specialized Crux. It's not quite enough. And I would like to see a 2x on there just because as you're riding with the roadies and you want to keep up with them and you want to have pace with them, you're going to need that extra gearing. If you aren't going to run a 2x on it, then I would get a 1x with at least like a 44 tooth chainring or bigger. That'll give you the flexibility to pedal up to those higher speeds. But if you can, I would get a 2x. That'll give you the most flexibility as a road bike.
So in summary, those are the kind of things I would think about. If you're going to be doing long rides, centuries, long days in the saddle, I think the Diverge would work perfect as a dedicated road bike. But again, the trade-offs are you're going to miss out on some of that agility, some of that nimbleness that you get on a normal road bike. And then on the flip side, if you're going to be riding daily, just hour rides here and there around your neighborhood, around your immediate area, you're probably fine just finding a regular road bike. The one thing I always add to that is you have to keep in mind if you have a Diverge, you always have the advantage that you can go off-roading. You can go on rough terrain. You can put really big tires on it. It opens up accessibility to a wide area.
I have a full video of my Specialized Crux and how I use that as a road bike. I find the Specialized Crux is a great road bike, very comparable to your modern road bikes. So if you want to see kind of how I use that as my daily road bike, feel free to check out that one as well.
As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.